The blue crystal spear hummed in Hana's hands as she crouched behind the broken stone wall. Her ears twitched at every sound. The sacred shrine behind her held the last hope of her people. Inside those white pods, 300 Valari children and elders waited for someone to save them. The tech were coming. Hana could smell them on the wind. They smelled like burning metal and death. She had been fighting these giant bug creatures for 3 years now. They had taken everything from her people. Her homeworld, her family, her friends. Now they wanted to take the last of the Valari too. "How many do you see?" Sora whispered from the next wall over. The older warrior's golden fur was streaked with gray. She had been fighting longer than anyone. Hana closed her yellow eyes and listened. Her people had good hearing. Very good hearing. She could hear the Thek moving through the dead forest. Their 6 legs made a clicking sound on the rocks. Their metal weapons scraped against their hard shells. "Too many," Hana said. She opened her eyes and looked at her spear. The blue crystal was warm. It always got warm before a fight. The weapon had been in her family for 7 generations. Her great-great-great-great-grandmother had carried it in the first war against the Thek. It had never broken, never failed. Today felt different. "We cannot hold them," said Kira from behind a fallen tree. She was the youngest of them. Only 16. She should have been learning to hunt, not learning to die. "We will hold them," Sora said. Her voice was hard like stone. "We are Valari. We do not run." Hana knew Sora was right. They would not run. But she also knew they would not win. 8 warriors against an army. Even with their crystal spears, even with their speed and strength, it was not enough. The ground began to shake. The Thek were close now. "Remember," Sora said to all of them, "do not let them reach the shrine. The children must live. That is all that matters." Hana nodded. She pressed her hand against the warm crystal of her spear. The weapon glowed brighter. She could feel her life energy flowing into it. That was how Valari weapons worked. They used the warrior's own spirit to fight. The first Thek appeared at the edge of the clearing. It was as big as a ground car. Its black shell shined in the red sunlight. 4 arms grew from its body. Each arm held a different weapon. Plasma guns, energy blades, acid sprayers. More Thek came behind the first one. Then more, then more. Hana stopped counting at 50. There were too many to count. The Thek leader was the biggest. It had scars all over its shell. Old battle wounds. This one had fought many wars. Killed many people. Its red eyes found Hana behind her wall. It made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Now," Sora shouted. All 8 Valari jumped over their hiding spots at the same time. Their spears blazed with blue light. Hana ran faster than she had ever run before. Her feet barely touched the ground. The crystal spear in her hands sang with power. She reached the first Thek before it could raise its weapons. Her spear cut through its shell like it was paper. Blue energy burned through the creature's body. It fell with a crash that shook the ground. Around her, the other warriors fought with grace and fury. Sora moved like dancing flame. Her spear was everywhere at once. Kira was small but fast. She jumped between the Thek legs, cutting and stabbing, but there were too many enemies. For every Thek they killed, 3 more took its place. Hana watched Kira fall to a plasma blast. Then Dami, then Ryu. One by one, her friends were dying. "Fall back to the shrine," Sora called out. Blood ran down her arm. Her spear flickered like a dying candle. The 5 remaining warriors ran backward. They kept fighting as they moved. The Thek followed them like a black wave of death. Hana found herself facing the scarred leader. It was even bigger up close. Its 4 arms moved in perfect coordination. One arm shot plasma at her. Another swung an energy blade. A third tried to grab her with metal claws. She dodged and spun. Her spear blocked the energy blade. The crystal flared bright white. She thrust the weapon at the creature's chest. The spear point bounced off the thick shell. The Thek leader made that clicking laugh sound again. It grabbed Hana's spear with 2 of its arms. She pulled back. The creature pulled harder. Something was wrong. The crystal felt different, cooler, dimmer. "No," Hana whispered. The Thek leader pulled again. Hana held on tight. The crystal spear had never failed before. It could not fail now, not when the children needed her. She poured more of her life force into the weapon. The crystal grew hot, then hotter. The blue light became blinding white. Behind her, she could hear Sora fighting 3 Thek at once. The older warrior was breathing hard. She was getting tired. They were all getting tired. "I will not let you pass," Hana shouted at the scarred leader. She put everything she had into the spear. All her strength, all her anger, all her love for her people. The crystal began to crack. A thin line appeared down the middle of the blue stone. Then another line. The weapon that had protected her family for 7 generations was breaking. "No, no, no," Hana said. She could not believe it. This could not happen. Not now. The tech leader saw the cracks too. Its red eyes glowed brighter. It made a sound that was definitely laughter. The crystal split in half. Blue energy exploded everywhere. The force threw Hana backward. She hit the ground hard. Her ears rang. Her vision blurred. When she looked up, pieces of her broken spear were scattered around her. The Thek leader stood over her. Its 4 arms raised their weapons. Behind it, more Thek poured into the clearing. They were heading for the shrine. For the children, Hana tried to get up. Her body would not listen. She had put too much energy into the spear. She had nothing left. "I am sorry," she whispered to her ancestors. She had failed them. She had failed everyone. The Thek leader aimed its plasma gun at her head. Its finger moved toward the trigger. Then something impossible happened. A shadow fell across them both. Something was falling from the sky. Something big. Something moving very fast. The Thek leader looked up. Its red eyes went wide. Hana looked up too. Through her blurred vision, she saw a shape dropping from the clouds above. It had arms and legs like a person, but it was wrapped in metal and fire. It was falling like a meteor. The shape hit the Thek leader with the sound of thunder. The explosion threw dirt and rocks everywhere. Hana covered her face with her arms. When the dust settled, there was a hole in the ground where the Thek leader had been standing. Smoke rose from the crater. The smell of burned metal filled the air. Something moved in the smoke. Not a Thek, something else. A figure climbed out of the hole. It was smaller than a Thek but bigger than a Valari. It had 2 arms and 2 legs like Hana's people, but its skin was pale, not covered in fur, and it wore strange metal clothing that sparked with electricity. The creature stood up slowly. It shook its head like it was trying to clear away confusion. When it turned around, Hana saw its face. It looked almost like a Valari face, but flatter. The ears were tiny and round. The eyes were small and dark. This was a human. Hana had heard stories about humans, but she had never seen one before. They were supposed to be weak, soft. They had no claws, no fangs, no thick fur to protect them. How had this one survived falling from the sky? The human looked around at all the Thek. There were still 40 or 50 of them. They had stopped moving when their leader died. Now they were starting to advance again. The human reached behind its back and pulled out a weapon. It was not like a Valari crystal spear. It was made of black metal and had a strange shape. When the human pointed it at the nearest Thek, fire and noise came out of the end. The Thek fell down. "What is that?" Sora asked. She had stopped fighting to stare at the human. "I do not know," Hana said. She was still on the ground, too weak to stand. "But it is helping us." The human moved like no warrior Hana had ever seen. It did not have the grace of a Valari fighter. It stumbled sometimes. It was not very fast. But it fought with a wild fury that made no sense. When its first weapon stopped making noise, the human threw it away. It picked up a broken piece of Thek shell and used it like a club. When that broke, it grabbed a sharp rock. When the rock cracked, it found a metal pole from the shrine's fence. The human never stayed still. It rolled behind cover when the Thek shot at it. It climbed on top of dead Thek bodies to get a better angle. It even grabbed one live Thek and used it as a shield against the others. "This is wrong," said Taro, one of the remaining Valari warriors. "This is not how you fight with honor." "Honor does not matter if we all die," Sora said. She was watching the human with interest. "Look how it moves. It uses everything around it as a weapon." Hana tried to understand what she was seeing. Valari warriors trained for years to use their crystal spears properly. They learned forms and techniques passed down through generations. Fighting was an art, a dance. It had rules. This human had no rules. It fought like a wild animal. But somehow it was winning. 3 Thek surrounded the human. It should have been trapped. Instead, it did something that made Hana gasp. The human ran straight at the biggest Thek, then dropped down and slid between its legs. While sliding, it did something to the creature's knee joint. The Thek crashed forward, knocking down the other 2. The human jumped up and grabbed a weapon from one of the fallen Thek. Now it had a plasma gun. But instead of using it like the Thek did, the human turned it around and started hitting things with the heavy end. Why does it not shoot the weapon? Kira asked. She was hiding behind a stone pillar, bleeding from a cut on her head. Maybe it does not know how, Hana said. But as she watched, she realized that was not true. The human knew exactly what it was doing. When 5 Thek charged at it from one direction, the human quickly turned the plasma gun around and fired. The energy beam cut through all 5 enemies at once. Then the human went back to using the gun as a club. It was the strangest fighting style Hana had ever seen. The human seemed to make up new moves as it went along. When the Thek tried to predict what it would do next, they were always wrong, but the human was getting tired. Hana could see it breathing hard. Its strange metal clothing was torn and sparking. Green blood dripped from several wounds. Wait, was that the human's blood? It was the wrong color. More Thek were coming. They poured out of the forest like an endless black river. Even with the human's help, there were too many. We have to help it, Sora said. She raised her crystal spear. The blue light was dim now, but it still worked. I cannot fight, Hana said. She tried to stand again, but her legs would not hold her. Breaking the spear had taken too much of her energy. Then stay here, Sora said. Guard the shrine. The remaining Valari warriors ran to help the human. They moved in formation like they had been trained. Their spears blazed with blue light. They cut through the Thek line like lightning. The human saw them coming. For a moment it looked confused. Then it seemed to understand. When the Valari attacked from the left, the human attacked from the right. When they pulled back, it charged forward. They had never fought together before. They did not speak the same language. But somehow they worked well as a team. Hana watched in amazement. The human adapted to the Valari fighting style instantly. When Sora spun her spear in a wide circle, the human ducked under the blade and struck at the Thek she had missed. When Taro jumped high to attack from above, the human stayed low and hit the enemy's legs. But it was still not enough. There were just too many Thek. The human fell to one knee. It was bleeding badly now. The green liquid ran down its arm and dripped onto the ground. Several Thek moved in for the kill. Sora threw her spear like a javelin. The blue crystal pierced through 2 Thek at once, but now she was weaponless. A Thek raised its energy blade to cut down the human. The blade hummed as it moved through the air. Hana tried to scream a warning, but her voice was too weak. The energy blade stopped inches from the human's neck. The Thek holding it looked down in confusion. One of Hana's broken spear pieces was sticking out of its chest. The fragment still glowed with a tiny bit of blue light. The human looked over at Hana. Their eyes met across the battlefield. The human's eyes were brown like tree bark. They were full of pain, but also determination. The human nodded at her. Then it grabbed the energy blade from the dead Thek's hand. Now the human had a proper weapon, and it was angry. What happened next was like nothing Hana had ever seen. The human fought with the energy blade, but not like a Thek would. It spun the weapon in ways that should have been impossible. It used the blade to cut, to block, and even to pole vault over enemies. The Thek began to fall back. They were confused, scared even. They had never faced an enemy like this before. But the human was still bleeding, still getting weaker. Just when it looked like the human might collapse, something new happened. A sound came from the sky, a deep rumbling noise that grew louder and louder. Hana looked up. Ships were coming down through the clouds. Big ships with strange markings on their sides. They were not Thek ships. They were not Valari ships either. They were human ships. The lead ship opened fire on the Thek forces. Beams of red light swept across the battlefield. Where they touched, Thek warriors simply disappeared. The remaining Thek broke and ran. They scattered into the forest like frightened insects. The human in the crater finally fell down. It was not moving. Is it dead? Taro asked. Hana crawled across the ground toward the human. Her body was still weak, but she had to know. When she reached the crater, she could see the human's chest moving up and down. It was still breathing. It is alive, she called back to the others. The human's eyes opened. It looked at Hana with those strange brown eyes. Then it said something in a language she did not understand. The words sounded gentle, kind. The human tried to sit up, but winced in pain. It was hurt badly. Hana looked at the broken pieces of her spear scattered around the crater. 7 generations of her family's strength shattered. But this human had used one of those pieces to save its life. Maybe that meant something. The human ships were landing now. More humans would come out of them. Hana's people would have to decide whether these strange creatures were friends or enemies. But as she looked down at the human who had fallen from the sky to help them, Hana thought she already knew the answer. Hana sat beside the human as it slept. 3 days had passed since the battle. The human's wounds were healing, but slowly. Nari, the shrine's healer, had done what she could. But Valari medicine did not work well on human bodies. The human's name was Jinwoo. That was the first thing he had told them when he woke up. He spoke broken Valari, mixed with his own language. Somehow they could understand each other. "Your people," Jinwoo had said, pointing at the white pods in the shrine. "They need to leave. More Thek will come." Sora did not trust him. She stood guard whenever Jinwoo was awake. "How do we know this human tells the truth?" she asked Hana. "How do we know he is not a spy?" "A spy would not fall from the sky to save us," Hana said. But she understood Sora's worry. Everything about Jinwoo was strange. His pale skin that burned easily in the sun, his small round ears that could barely hear anything, his flat teeth that seemed useless for fighting. How had his people survived long enough to build starships? Yet Jinwoo had fought harder than any warrior Hana had ever seen. He had no honor code, no training, no proper weapons, but he had refused to give up, even when dying seemed certain. On the morning of the 4th day, more humans came down from their ships. They wore different clothes than Jinwoo. Cleaner clothes. Their leader was a woman named Yaran. She spoke perfect Valari. "We need to talk," Yaran said to Sora. "The Thek fleet will return soon. Your people cannot stay here." Sora's golden fur bristled. "We do not take orders from humans." "I am not giving orders," Yaran said calmly. "I am stating facts. Our sensors show a Thek battle group approaching this system. They will arrive in 6 days." Hana felt her heart sink. 6 days was not enough time to repair their broken evacuation ships. It had taken months to prepare them the first time. "We cannot leave," Sora said. "Our ships are damaged. Our people are too weak to travel." Yaran nodded. "That is why we want to help." She gestured to the humans behind her. One was a young man named Minho. He carried strange tools and devices. The others looked like engineers or technicians. "Let us look at your evacuation pods," Yaran said. "Maybe we can find a solution together." Sora was quiet for a long moment. Hana could see the conflict in her golden eyes. The older warrior hated asking for help. "Especially from strangers, you may look," Sora finally said. "But you touch nothing without permission." Yaran smiled. "Understood." Minho and the other human engineers spent the whole day examining the Valari pods. They took measurements. They made notes on small devices. They talked among themselves in their own language, using words Hana did not recognize. Jinwoo watched them work. He was sitting up now, though he still looked pale and tired. "Good people," he said to Hana in his broken Valari. "They help many worlds. They help you too." "Why?" Hana asked. "What do humans gain from helping us?" Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "That killed my world. My family, now I help others fight them. Is good reason, yes?" Hana studied his face. There was old pain in his brown eyes, the kind of pain that never fully healed. She understood that pain. Every Valari carried it now. "Yes," she said, "it is a good reason." That evening, Yaran called a meeting. All the surviving Valari warriors gathered in the shrine's main chamber. The human engineers stood to one side, holding their devices and notes. "We have good news and bad news," Yaran said. "The good news is that your evacuation pods can be fixed. The bad news is that it will take 3 weeks. "We do not have 3 weeks," Sora said sharply. "No, you do not," Yaran agreed. "That is why we propose a different solution." Minho stepped forward. He held up a small device that showed moving pictures. "Your pods are based on old colony ship technology, similar to what humans use. We can modify them to dock with our ships instead of flying alone." "What does that mean?" asked Nari, the healer. "It means your people can evacuate in our ships," Yaran explained. "We take you to a safe system. Give you time to repair your own vessels properly." Sora's ears flattened against her head. "You want us to abandon our ships? Our technology? Everything that makes us Valari?" "We want you to survive," Jinwoo said from where he sat. His voice was stronger now. "Technology can be rebuilt. People cannot." "Easy words from someone who never lost his home," Sora snapped. Jinwoo's face darkened. "I lost my home. I lost everything. That is why I know the difference between things that matter and things that do not." The shrine fell silent. Hana could feel the tension between the two warriors. "Old pain facing older traditions, what guarantee do we have?" Sora asked finally. How do we know you will not abandon us once we are on your ships? How do we know this is not a trick? Yeren spread her hands. You have our word. But if that is not enough, some of your people can stay here to oversee the work. They can join us on the last ship out. I will stay, Hana said quickly. Everyone turned to look at her. Sora's eyes widened in surprise. You are too weak, the older warrior said. You use too much energy in the battle. You need rest. I need purpose, Hana replied. My spear is broken. I cannot fight like I used to. But I can watch. I can learn. I can make sure our people are safe. Jinwoo nodded approvingly. Good idea. I stay too. Help with the work. You are injured, Yuran protested. You should return to the medical ship. I am engineer before I am fighter, Jinwoo said. I know ships. I can help, Sora looked back and forth between them. Hana could see her struggling with the decision. Finally, she sighed. Very well. The children and elders go first. Hana stays to watch the humans. But if anything goes wrong, anything at all, we fight our way out. Understood, Yeren said. Over the next 2 days, the evacuation began. The human ships were larger inside than they looked. They had rooms for hundreds of people. The Valari children were scared at first, but the human crew was gentle with them. They gave them food and games and safe places to sleep. Hana watched it all with mixed feelings. It was good to see her people safe, but it felt wrong to see them depending on strangers for survival. Your thoughts are loud, Jinwoo said. He was sitting beside her, watching the loading process. How can thoughts be loud? Hana asked, expression on face. Body language. Humans learn to read these things, he paused. You worry about your people changing. Hana nodded. We have been the same for 1,000 years, strong, independent, proud. Now we hide in human ships like refugees. Refugees who are alive, Jinwoo pointed out. Better than being proud corpses, is it? Hana asked. What happens to who we are? Our traditions? Our ways of fighting? Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, my grandmother told me a story once. About tree and storm. Tree that does not bend will break. Tree that bends will survive storm and grow stronger. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was. Thek killed her when I was young. Jinwoo's voice was sad but not bitter. Before she died, she said something else. She said strength is not in staying the same. Strength is in choosing what changes and what stays. Hana thought about that as she watched the last of the children board the human ship. Her broken spear lay in pieces in her room. 7 generations of tradition shattered. But maybe that was not the end of something. Maybe it was the beginning. On the morning of the 6th day, sensors detected the Thek fleet at the edge of the system. They would arrive in hours, not days. Time to go, Yeran announced. But Minho had a problem. One of the pod modification units is not working properly, he told them. It will not connect to our ship's docking system. How long to fix it? Jinwoo asked. 2 hours, maybe 3. We do not have 2 hours, Sora said grimly. Hana looked at the broken pod, then at her people filing onto the human ships. Someone would have to stay behind to fix it manually. Someone would have to hold off any Thek scouts that might arrive early. She thought about Jinwoo falling from the sky. Sometimes the impossible choice was the only choice that mattered. I know what to do, she said. No, Sora said immediately. You are still too weak. You cannot fight a whole Thek scouting party alone. I will not be alone, Hana said. She looked at Jinwoo. You said you would help with the work. Jinwoo nodded without hesitation. Yes, I stay. We fix together. This is foolish, Yuran protested. 2 people cannot hold off the Thek long enough to complete the repairs. Nari stepped forward. The old healer's eyes were bright with an idea. There is a way. An old way. But it is dangerous. What way? Hana asked. The bonding of spirits, Nari said. 2 warriors can share their life force. Share their thoughts and reflexes. Fight as one mind and 2 bodies, Sora's ears flattened. That ritual has not been used in 300 years. And it only works between Valari. Maybe it works with humans too, Nari said quietly. This human's mind already touches machines. His neural pathways are flexible. All eyes turned to Jinwoo. He looked confused. What is this bonding? Hana tried to explain in simple words. Our healer can connect our minds. We would think together, fight together, be stronger together. Is it safe? Jinwoo asked. No, Nari said honestly. For humans, it might kill you. We do not know. Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. I fell from sky to fight giant bugs. Safe is not important anymore, Jinwoo, Yeren said seriously. You do not understand. This could destroy your mind permanently. My mind is already strange, Jinwoo said. Too many years connecting to alien machines. Maybe strange is good for this. Hana felt a warm feeling in her chest. This human was willing to risk everything to help her people. People he had just met. People who were nothing like him. We do it, she said. The next hour passed quickly. Yeren and the other humans finished loading the evacuation pods. Minho set up the repair equipment for the broken pod. Nari prepared the bonding ritual. You must understand, the old healer explained to both of them. Once the bond forms, you will feel everything the other feels. Pain, fear, memories. It can be overwhelming. How long does it last? Hana asked. Until one of you breaks the connection deliberately, or until one of you dies. That was a sobering thought. Sora approached Hana as Nari prepared the ritual circle. I should be the one staying with him, the older warrior said. You are still recovering from your broken spear. That is exactly why it should be me, Hana replied. My energy channels are already damaged. The bonding might work better with broken pathways. Sora did not look convinced, but she nodded. Fight well, young warrior. Bring honor to our people. I will. The human ships took off one by one. Soon only Yaren's ship remained. It would wait as long as possible before leaving. Nari drew symbols on the shrine floor with blue chalk. Ancient Valari writing that glowed softly in the dim light. She placed Hana and Jinwoo at opposite ends of the circle. Hold hands, Nari instructed. Open your minds. Do not resist the connection. Hana reached out and took Jinwoo's hands. His skin was warm and slightly rough. So different from Valari hands. Ready? Nari asked. They both nodded. Nari began to chant in the old language. The symbols on the floor grew brighter. Hana felt a tingling sensation starting in her fingers. The tingling spread up her arms, into her chest, toward her head. Then the world exploded. Suddenly Hana was not just herself anymore. She was also Jinwoo. She could feel his thoughts, his memories, his emotions. It was like being hit by a waterfall of alien experiences. She saw his childhood on a human colony world, felt his fear when the Thek ships appeared in the sky, experienced his grief when his family died in the bombing, understood his anger and his need for revenge. But she also felt his wonder at seeing the stars for the first time, his joy at fixing broken machines, his stubborn refusal to give up no matter how bad things got, his genuine desire to help others, even strangers. Through the bond, she felt Jinwoo experiencing her memories too. Her training with the crystal spears, the weight of family tradition, the shame of being the first in 7 generations to break her weapon. Too much, Jinwoo's voice said, but it sounded like it was coming from inside her own head. Focus on the present, Hana replied, though she was not sure if she spoke out loud or just thought the words. Gradually, the flood of memories settled into a steady stream. Hana could still feel Jinwoo's thoughts, but they no longer overwhelmed her own. It was like having a second voice in her head. A partner. She opened her eyes. Jinwoo was staring at her with wonder. I can feel your strength, he said. Your speed. Your balance. I can feel your creativity, Hana replied. Your ability to see solutions where there are none. They stood up together, moving in perfect synchronization. It was the strangest feeling. Hana knew exactly where Jinwoo was going to step before he took the step. He knew which way she was going to turn before she turned. The Thek scouts have entered the atmosphere. Minho called out from his workstation. 3 ships. Maybe 4. How much time do you need? Hana asked. 30 minutes. Maybe 40. Through the bond, Hana felt Jinwoo's mind working on the problem. He was calculating angles, distances, tactics, but now his calculations included Valari speed and agility. Meanwhile, her warrior instincts were enhanced by his engineering knowledge and creative thinking. Together, they were something entirely new. The first Thek ship landed near the shrine. 12 warriors emerged from it. They moved in formation just like always. Predictable, systematic. Hana and Jinwoo attacked from 2 directions at once, but they fought as one mind. When Hana spun left, Jinwoo ducked right. When he threw a piece of debris, she was already moving to take advantage of the distraction. The Thek had never faced anything like this before. They tried to focus on one attacker, but the other would strike from behind. They tried to split their attention, but the 2 fighters moved too perfectly together. Through the bond, Hana felt Jinwoo's tactical mind analyzing every Thek movement. He saw patterns she had never noticed, weak points in their formation, flaws in their coordination. At the same time, Jinwoo felt her warrior instincts guiding his body. His clumsy human movements became graceful and deadly. His random fighting style gained focus and precision. They fought for 20 minutes without speaking a word. They did not need to speak. Each knew what the other was thinking. When the second Thek ship arrived, bringing 20 more warriors, Hana and Jinwoo adapted instantly. They used the shrine's ancient defenses in ways no one had ever imagined. Stone pillars became weapons, sacred pools became traps. Even the carved walls became tools for misdirection. 10 more minutes, Minho called out. But the third Thek ship was landing. And through the bond, both Hana and Jinwoo could feel their own bodies reaching their limits. The bonding was taking a toll on both of them. We need a new strategy, Jinwoo's thoughts said in her mind. I know, Hana replied. Through their shared consciousness, an idea was forming. It was risky, maybe impossible, but it was the only way. They would need to use the broken pieces of her crystal spear, not as separate fragments, but as a network, a web of connected energy that could channel both their life forces at once. That could kill us both, Jinwoo thought. Everything we have done today could kill us, Hana thought back. Together, they began to gather the scattered pieces of her ancestral weapon, and together, they prepared to do something that had never been done before in the history of either species. The final battle was about to begin. Hana and Jinwoo knelt in the center of the shrine, surrounded by pieces of the broken spear. Through their shared bond, they worked together to arrange the crystal fragments in a complex pattern. Hana's ancestral knowledge guided the placement while Jinwoo's engineering mind calculated the energy flows. 5 minutes, Minho called out. His voice was tense. The third wave of Thek warriors was advancing on the shrine. More than 40 enemies this time. Ready? Hana asked through their mental connection. No, Jinwoo replied honestly, but we do it anyway. They placed their hands on the largest piece of crystal. Immediately, both of them poured their life energy into the broken weapon, but instead of trying to reform the spear, they used the fragments as separate focal points. Blue light spread from crystal to crystal, connecting them in a web of energy. Each fragment became a small weapon. Each piece carried part of their combined power. The first Thek reached the shrine entrance. It was bigger than the others, a leader like the one Jinwoo had killed before. This one had learned from its predecessor's mistake. It carried a shield and moved carefully. Hana and Jinwoo stood up as one. The crystal fragments rose into the air around them, spinning slowly. 7 generations of Valari tradition, enhanced by human innovation. Old magic powered by new understanding. You will not pass, Hana said. But her voice carried Jinwoo's determination too. The Thek leader clicked its mandibles in what might have been laughter. It had faced Valari crystal weapons before. It knew how to fight them, but it had never faced anything like this. Hana gestured with her left hand. 3 crystal fragments shot forward like bullets. The Thek leader raised its shield, expecting a direct attack. Instead, the crystals curved around the shield and struck from behind. The leader staggered, surprised. Its shield turned to track the crystals, but they were already flying back to Hana's position. Jinwoo made a throwing motion with his right arm. More fragments launched forward, but these ones split apart in midair. Each piece became a smaller projectile. The Thek leader tried to block them all, but there were too many. Blue energy burned through its armor. The creature fell with a crash that shook the ground. The other Thek paused, unsure. They had never seen their weapons used this way. Crystal fragments that moved independently, energy that split and rejoined. It went against everything they knew about Valari fighting. 2 minutes, Minho announced. The remaining Thek charged all at once. They hoped to overwhelm the 2 defenders with sheer numbers. Through the bond, Hana and Jinwoo felt each other's thoughts perfectly. They moved the crystal fragments like an extension of their own bodies. The pieces danced through the air, cutting down enemies with impossible precision. But controlling so many fragments at once was exhausting. Both warriors felt their strength draining away. The bond that gave them power was also consuming their life force. The repair is complete, Minho shouted suddenly. The pod is ready to dock. Then go, Hana called back. Get to the ship. What about you two? We will follow, Jinwoo said. But through the bond, Hana felt his real thoughts. He did not think they would survive long enough to escape. More Thek ships were landing outside. Hundreds of warriors poured out of them, The shrine was completely surrounded. We cannot fight them all, Hana thought to Jinwoo. No, he agreed, but maybe we do not need to fight them all. Through their shared consciousness, a new plan formed. Instead of trying to kill every enemy, they would create a distraction. Something so spectacular that it would give Minho time to reach the ship. They began pulling energy from all the crystal fragments at once. Not to attack, but to store power. The pieces glowed brighter and brighter like tiny blue stars. What are you doing? Minho asked. He had finished packing his equipment and was running toward the shrine's back exit. Making sure you get away safely, Hana said. This is suicide, Minho protested. No, Jinwoo said. This is evolution. The crystal fragments were blazing with energy now. Too much energy. The ancient crystals were not designed to hold this much power. They began to crack under the strain. The tech sensed something was wrong. They backed away from the shrine, but they did not retreat. They just waited outside, surrounding the building. Now, Hana and Jinwoo thought together. They released all the stored energy at once. The explosion was like a small sun going off inside the shrine. Blue light blazed through every window and door. The blast wave threw the nearest tech warriors hundreds of meters away. But instead of destroying the shrine, the explosion created something new. A dome of crackling energy that covered the entire building. The tech outside could not get in, and more importantly, their ships could not target anything inside the dome. Impossible. One of the tech commanders clicked. Valari weapons cannot do this. Those are not just Valari weapons, another replied. Something else is happening here. Inside the dome, Hana and Jinwoo collapsed to their knees. They had used almost all their strength to create the barrier. But it was holding. For now. Go, Hana gasped to Minho. The barrier will not last long. Minho hesitated for a moment. Then he ran for the back exit. Through the bond, Hana felt Jinwoo's memories of his grandmother again. The story about trees and storms. She understood now what he had meant. They were not trying to stay the same. They were choosing what to change and what to keep. The barrier flickered. The crystal fragments were burning out one by one. Soon the dome would collapse and the Thek would pour in. I am glad I met you, Jinwoo's thought said in her mind. I am glad you fell from the sky, Hana replied. Then, just as the last crystal fragment cracked and the barrier began to fail, they heard a familiar sound, ship engines. But not Thek engines, human engines. Euron's ship dropped out of the clouds like an avenging angel. Its weapons blazed with red fire. Thek warriors scattered as energy beams swept across the battlefield. Did you really think we would leave without you? Euron's voice came through a communications device Minho had left behind. The ship landed in the shrine's courtyard, its guns still firing at the retreating Thek. The boarding ramp dropped down. Move! Yeren shouted. Hana and Jinwoo helped each other stand. The bond between them was fading as their strength ran out. Soon they would be separate minds again, but something would remain. A connection. An understanding. They stumbled onto the ship together. As the ramp closed behind them, Hana took one last look at the shrine. Her ancestral home was in ruins. The crystal fragments of her family's spear were scattered and dark, but her people were safe. And somehow she felt like she had not lost her heritage. She had transformed it into something new. 3 weeks later, on the human ship New Soul, Hana sat in the engineering workshop. She was learning to use human tools. Beside her, Jinwoo was studying Valari crystal technology. Look at this, he said, holding up a small device. It was a fusion of human electronics and Valari crystal work. Neither fully human nor fully Valari, but something entirely new. It channels bioelectric energy through synthetic crystals, Jinwoo explained. Like your spears, but more flexible, more adaptable. Hana took the device and felt energy flow through it. It was different from her broken spear, less traditional, but also more powerful in some ways. Could we make weapons like this? She asked. We could make many things like this, Jinwoo said. Weapons, tools, ships, a whole new way of building technology. Through the workshop window, Hana could see other Valari working alongside human engineers, learning from each other, teaching each other, creating things that neither species could have imagined alone. Sora entered the workshop carrying a cup of tea. The older warrior still did not fully trust the humans, but she was learning to accept them. The scouts have returned, Sora announced. They found a suitable world for the new colony. Good soil, clean water, far from Thek territory. What will we call it? Hana asked. The council is debating that, Sora said. Some want a traditional Valari name. Others suggest something new. Hana looked at the hybrid device in her hands, something that was both old and new at the same time, like her people were becoming. What about New Dawn? She suggested. That works in both languages. Sora considered this. New Dawn, yes, that might work. Later that day, Hana stood on the ship's observation deck looking out at the stars. Jinwoo joined her there. Do you miss your spear? He asked. Sometimes, Hana admitted. But I think it served its purpose. It protected my people for 7 generations. When it broke, it brought us together with yours. My grandmother would have liked that story, Jinwoo said. A weapon that saves people by breaking instead of staying whole. Maybe that is what real strength is, Hana said. Knowing when to bend and when to break, when to hold on and when to let go. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. 2 warriors from different worlds planning a future that neither of their peoples could have imagined alone. Behind them, human and Valari children played together in the ship's corridors. They switched between languages without thinking about it. They shared toys and games and stories. To them, the differences between the species were just interesting details, not barriers. They will grow up strong, Jinwoo observed. Yes, Hana agreed. They will know how to fight when they need to. But more importantly, they will know how to build. The ship New Soul continued on its journey toward the world that would become New Dawn. In its workshops, human and Valari,